Hey boys and girls, time for your next math lesson. So what I want to make sure you have today is that you have your baggie, I put mine in a baggie, wherever you put them, of your quadrilaterals and parallelograms that we used last time. Make sure you have them with you today. And you're going to need a pencil and an eraser, just in case we made some mistakes or we need to fix anything. You might not even use it at all. Don't know. Okay? So if you don't have those materials right now, I want you to get them for me right now. Pause me if you need to. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take all of your shapes out of your bag, okay? And I want you to sort them based on their shape name. So I'm going to make sure that anything that is a trapezoid, I put all in one column. So one set of trapezoids, maybe you have 2, 3, 4. One group will have more depending on what you made. So my grouping of shapes is not necessarily going to look like your grouping of shapes. They may be a little bit different. Okay. Rectangle, I'll put all my rectangles in a group. Okay, so I want you to pause me right now and I want you to take all of them and I want you to sort them. I'm going to sort mine and I'm going to turn it back on. Mine are a little bit different because I have them typed up and in specific categories with their names already on it. Okay, you might not have names on all of yours, which is totally fine. But what I want you to do right now is sort them based on their shape name. You should have 6 categories: rectangle, quadrilateral, parallelogram, rhombus, trapezoid, and square. Okay, and they might not all have the same in it. You may only have 1 rhombus and 4 squares. Okay, just sort them for me. Okay, friends, so now we're back. So as you can see, I have all of my shapes sorted into the categories. And like I said, you might have different looking ones, but they should all have the same characteristics. So what we're going to be doing right now is we are going to be recording on our shapes the names. Okay, so to make sure that you have your correct shapes in the correct name category, I'm going to read their definition. And as I read the definition, I want you to make sure that those shapes that you have sorted in that section match it. Okay, so the first one I'm going to start with are my quadrilaterals. Now I've labeled these all quadrilaterals because I think they all fit in the quadrilateral category. So I'm going to get my quadrilateral definition card out. Okay, so here's a quadrilateral. It says any polygon with 4 sides. Okay, if I look at this, this, and this, they all have 4 sides. Okay, quadrilateral is very broad, so a lot of these shapes could also fit in them. But the reason that these 5 fit in the quadrilateral category is because they don't fit in any of these other categories. So you may have some right now that all fit in your quadrilateral category, but you may move them later depending on what we come up with. Okay, so there's quadrilateral. So make sure yours are all quadrilaterals that are in there. Now the next one I want to talk about is the trapezoids. Okay, so my 2 trapezoids I got. So here's your definition of trapezoid. A quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. Now remember, he's the only shape in all the quadrilaterals that only has 1 pair. Okay, so I need to make sure that both of these only have 1 pair. So this guy and this guy are parallel. These are not. They will eventually intersect. This guy and this guy are parallel. These ones will eventually intersect. So far, so good. Okay, so make sure that the trapezoids that you have in your category are labeled trapezoid and that they are the correct ones. Next is the square. So let's go check out our squares. I've got 3 squares in mine. It's a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. Now the word congruent means all the same. So if I look at all of these shapes, are all the sides the same in each one? Yes. Do they have 4 right angles? Do they all meet at an L? Yes. And a parallelogram is a shape that has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Parallel, 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 and parallel. Check! Miss the rhombus. A parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. Let's check this one out. It's a match. It's the exact same one. Okay, so make sure your rhombuses go together. Last two. Rectangle over here. Parallelogram with 4 right angles. 1, 2, 3, 4 L's. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. And 2 pairs of parallel sides. We're good to go. And our last one is a parallelogram. A quadrilateral with 2 pairs of parallel sides opposite of each other. That means the opposite sides are parallel. They will not have right angles. They will not have only obtuse or only acute. They'll be different. So set. Check. So mine are all set. So right now, make sure yours are all set. So what we're going to do next is play a game called Guess My Quadrilateral. So I'm going to read you riddles, and I'm going to read you one at a time so that you can try and figure out which shape matches the riddle. So as I read it, we're going to take some of these away because we'll go, well, that automatically doesn't fit it. All right, so I really want you paying attention to guess my quadrilateral because you're going to be creating your own quadrilateral in another lesson. Okay, so pause me if you need to and make sure yours are labeled and sorted in the right categories because we're going to play our first Guess My Quadrilateral in a brief moment. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to give you some clues. I'm going to give you one at a time and we're going to get rid of whatever we can based on that first clue. Okay, so here is my first riddle. I've got all my shapes labeled and in front of me so I can get those moving. My first riddle is, my quadrilateral has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So if I look at all of my shapes, almost all of my shapes have 2 pairs. But remember I just said there's only one shape that only has 1 pair. Anybody remember which one? Tell me to stop when you see it. It's the trapezoid. Trapezoids only have 1 set or 1 pair. So right now I know I can get rid of these. So I'm going to get rid of my trapezoids. And you can be doing the same too. You can get rid of yours as we go through them. Okay. Here's my next clue. My quadrilateral has 4 congruent sides. Now remember, congruent means equal. They're all the same. Okay? So do we see any shapes in front of us that their shapes, no matter what, do not have all the same side? Rhombus, square, parallelogram, quadrilateral, rectangle. Are there any ones that I can for sure get rid of? Oh, look at these quadrilaterals. These are all funky looking. None of them, I don't even think 2 of the sides are the same. So all 4, definitely not. So I can get rid of all my quadrilaterals. Any other shapes I can get rid of? What about the rectangle? Does he have 4 congruent sides? Wrong-o, so we got to get rid of him too. And what about your parallelogram? Do those have 4 sides that are all the same? No boo, so I'm going to get rid of those too. Now we're left with 2 squares and rhombuses. Dun, 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 dun. Let's read my next one. My quadrilateral, cool, tough word for me today. Quadrilateral has 4 right angles. Does my rhombus have 4 right angles? Do my squares have 4 right angles? Which one doesn't? This one does not. This one has obtuse and acute angles. Okay, so now we're down to it's a square of some sort. Now we're just going to figure out which square it is, though. Is it square A, B, or C? So we got to read our last clue to figure that out. My quadrilateral has an area that is just a little more than 1 square inch. So if we think about these, and we think about the square tiles we used at school, which one of these is about the size of a square tile? Which one? Is it B? Is that the size of a square tile? No, don't do teeny. Is it C? Yes, it's C. C is about the size of the square tile. Woohoo! Woohoo! So I don't know why it's getting so dark, friends. So light, I mean. Okay. So our guess my quadrilateral is square C for the first one. Okay. So see how the game is going to go? We'll do one more just for fun. But I want you to keep in mind how I'm giving clues. I start broad and then get more specific because you're going to make your own set in our next lesson. Not today, in our next lesson. So I'm going to set mine all back up. So go ahead and pause me and set them all back up. I'm going to pause myself and set them all back up. Okay, friends, here we go. So for our second guess my quadrilateral, our first clue is my quadrilateral is not a parallelogram. Now remember that any quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides is considered a parallelogram. So we're not just going to get rid of these ones, but what other shapes are also considered parallelograms? Is a rectangle considered a parallelogram? Does that have two pairs of parallel sides? Yeah, so we gotta get rid of those too. Is a rhombus considered a parallelogram? Does that have two pairs of parallel sides? Yeah, gotta get rid of him too. This clue seems very, very easy for the first round. Whew. Is a square considered a parallelogram? Two pairs of parallel sides. Yep, it sure is. Okay, so now we're down to trapezoids and quadrilaterals. I wonder which one it's going to be. Oops, sorry. B is hanging out down here. There. Okay, let's look at our next clue. My quadrilateral has exactly one pair of parallel sides. So that means which of these shapes have either none or two? It's the quadrilaterals. They have no pairs. So it's down to trapezoid A and trapezoid B. I wonder which one it's going to be. Let's read our next clue. My quadrilateral has more than one type of angle. Okay. So I see this first one has a right angle, it has an acute angle, and an obtuse. So that's more than one. Let's look at trapezoid B. I see trapezoid B has an obtuse and an acute angle. So, well, that didn't help me narrow it down. That was a good clue, but it didn't help me with these shapes that I made. Number 4. My quadrilateral has exactly 2 right angles. Okay, so one of these has 2 right angles, one doesn't. What shape has the 2 right angles? Right here and at the top. They both make an L. So, in my guess, my quadrilateral, the second one is trapezoid A. So I hope you guys had fun with that today. So I just kind of wanted to go over that because that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow in your lesson. You're going to create your own clues and you're going to give them to your teachers. So they're going to have to try and guess which shape you created. But today for your work, I kind of wanted to go over shapes and their attributes and their definitions because you're going to have a checkpoint labeled polygon and quadrilateral. So no help from mom and dad or Grammy Grampy, whoever's with you today. You gotta do it on your own because you want to kind of see what you are remembering. It's kind of a little assessment tool for the teachers. When you go to submit your response, you're gonna hit the green button. You're gonna submit your response. It's 2 pages, so make sure you click on both pages to do them. And you are then going to either circle with the pen, you can pick any color you want, to circle the shapes that they're asking you to circle. And then some questions you just need to put in a text box. Okay, friends? So make sure you get that done today and submit that. And we will play and do Guess My Quadrilateral. And you're going to try and stump your teachers next time. So good luck with the checkpoint. I look forward to seeing you